I didn't just go, that's your guys' job to pack that out. No, me and my operations manager was there until midnight packing that out. It's that care of not just, hey, this isn't a you problem. It's your guys' problem to fix. It's a we problem.
Welcome to the Know Your Ship podcast. Today we sit down with David Luna, the Senior Manager of Fulfillment at Dime Beauty. You retired from
The Army.
Gotcha. So what was your role in the military, in the Army?
Well, I did logistics. My MOS was a 92 Yankee. When I say logistics, a little bit different out here in the civilian sector. Logistics is anywhere from transportation to finance, procurement, and kind of like inventory control. And here it's really segmented. Like you either do transportation or you either do inventory control, you either do fulfillment, or you either do X, Y, or Z. But in the Army, if you're a 92 Yankee or a 92 Alpha or in logistics, you can be in multiple different
In all the disciplines?
Yep. Depending on overtime, rank, position, and wherever you're slotted. So it's kind of a little bit different. And so when I kind of retired, my resume could fit almost any job. It was super crazy. I didn't realize it was that segment when I segmented until I retired and started applying for things. I was like, but I've done procurement. So why is it different? Shouldn't it be part of this?
Yeah, right. Have you transitioned that philosophy to the civilian side?
I think that's why I kind of love my role at Dime Beauty. It's because I'm allowed to do everything, and that's kind of what my role is as a senior manager of fulfillment. Is I do all of that, right? I create and develop the P&L with our accounting team and stuff like that. And you know, it allows me to think on the levels that I did in the military and see those small little details that I would previously and raise that red flag and say, hey, what's going on with this? And, you know, it kind of stimulated my brain because that's what I was used to for God knows how long, like 18 years. And when I first retired, I became a train conductor. Super random, right? You would never think someone in logistics would be a train conductor.
Yeah. Did you have to go to school for that, or
yes,
some
it's
sort of
probably, let's see, May, June, July. So a 3-month school. It's super high score rate for you to pass. I think it's like 90%, somewhere around there on the final test, and stuff like that. And it was just something I wanted to do different. I mean, I've been a leader since my first job at Burger King, so it was kind of like, this is just me, myself doing thing, which was kind of nice. In the military, it's kind of more challenging than being a leader, you know, than out here in the civilian sector. It's because you're responsible for people's actions while they're at work and out of work. And that's a lot. And it's a lot of pressure and a lot of things, you know, besides being a dad and all those other things, a brother, son, father, you know, it's a lot added to it. So I wanted a little bit break and did that for about 1.5 years. Then I went back to school because I found out when I wanted to get back into logistics, people were telling me no, they had less experience than me because I didn't have a piece of paper. So it was so interesting.
Isn't that crazy?
It is. It really is. But I think the world is now transitioning to, you know, where we are allowing people with experience to elevate themselves, you know, because they have that experience. I think that's more valuable than that. But also, while at the University of Utah, I found it interesting that people with were getting out of the school. One of the first things when they were applying and having problems for when they graduated with a degree in operations management was, but you don't have experience for this role. So which is it, right?
Yeah. Is it the paper or is it the experience?
Yeah. And, you know, my business law professor had a really good point. He's like, it's kind of backwards in this for business, you know, like they want to teach you the intricacies of business and business school, but really it should be about, can you complete a project? Can you do this? Can you do that? All these other things. And that. And he's super right, because you do And no matter what job you do, like there's some unknowns going into it, right? Because like you're going to interview, do you have experience doing this? Do you have experience doing that? Yeah, but you don't have that particular experience in the moment with anything in life. So it's kind of super interesting.
Yeah, it is. It is super interesting. I mean, I think once upon a time, physicians used to train under another physician. Like that was the classwork.
Yeah.
So it's just real world experience. Now, I understand how utilizing other research and being in a classroom can amplify your experience, but there really is no replacement. In fact, as I'm looking across, if you think about going and earning a degree, which degree do you walk off campus and you're immediately qualified to do whatever you've now trained to do without having that real world experience?
Yeah. And maybe tech schools are a little bit different.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think trade schools, there's no question.
Yeah. And I think they're a little bit undersold, right?
Totally.
If you don't
Couldn't
have
agree more.
that four-year degree, it's not, tech schools kind of looked a little bit down upon, but I think those are the ones, like you said, that probably have that real world experience kind of getting into that kind of stuff. So,
yeah. Okay. Well, that's great background. We'll want to dig into that a little bit more. I especially want to talk about your military experience and how you utilize that in your current role with Dime. But I also wanted to ask you about, by the time you were done with your experience in the military, as we're kind of talking about the physical fitness requirements, were you burned out on that side of it? Or is that why you took a break? Or what was or you just you could take a break. It wasn't required.
It was that I could take a break. Right. I did keep up with it for like the first year. I would go around, but I think part of it was the transitioning to the life of a train conductor. I don't think people realize how brutal that job is.
Being a train conductor?
Yeah, it is, because you are on call all the time. And you can work twice in one day, a 10-hour shift, right?
As a train conductor?
Yes.
This is a world I have zero background. No knowledge of being a train conductor, other than everybody as a kid wanted to be a train conductor. Like that was one of the things you wanted to do. Ride around at a train, you blow the whistle, maybe throw some coal into the fire.
That is true. And I had no idea either. But it's demanding because like you can work 10 to 12 hours and then you get
in one shift.
And then you get 10 hours rest. Right. And then you get a call to go. You have one, depending on where you're at, because it's all like union based and seniority, depending on the two biggest railroads at the time when I was there is Union Pacific and BNSF.
Yeah.
And I worked for BNSF Railway. And you could get called and then you have an hour and a half, 2 hours to be to work. So that's where within 24 hours, you're working twice.
Yes. What are some of the things that you took away from that experience?
Hazmat control. I mostly worked with, coal trains. So it wasn't as in depth, but there's a lot of oil trains up north and like North Dakota, South Dakota, stuff like that. And down south, there's some too. It's just, paying attention to rules was also the thing, understanding. And that also goes back to my military training is like attention to detail. Like there's regulations in the Army just as well as the FRA federal is what the railroad, I think is the acronym for the railroads, like Federal Administration. But attention to detail in those rules, because like there was a time that I caught that a train had already rolled through like a certain area. Well, the bridge wasn't rated for that. And so we had to get pre-authorization, and it already went through there once at least. And so it's just those attention to details, because people's lives are in danger, plus people's property are not in danger, but at risk.
Sure.
If you don't manage those things. So a little attention to details and to always question and not be afraid to challenge your 20-year experienced engineer. And I challenged one because in certain territories, there's different rules besides the normal rules. and I can't remember what the book's called. It's like it's a different book besides the rules, and you have to know your territory's rules as well. And we were doing a certain speed, and I was like, hey, we can't do this because we're rated this many tons for operative brake in this area. He's like, where does it say that? And the crazy part is like, when I challenged him and on that, I was wrong. Come to find out, I was wrong because there was a secondary rule that he knew. But this is what he told me. He said, you're the first conductor has ever challenged me on a rule, and instead of I proved and tried to prove to me that, what you read was right. I appreciate that for you trying to keep us both safe, right? And it kind of goes to like everything that I was ever taught in the military is kind of sometimes challenging someone with more experience than you is the right thing to do. But some of us aren't willing to do that. And yes, sometimes people don't react the way you want, but at least you presented that idea or challenged that rule or did something, and you can go back to yourself and say, hey, I did the right thing.
It's such a good lesson. And I am curious your thoughts on how to approach that. There's a couple sides to it. One is the way that you're in a position to challenge a superior. And so the way that you approach that is important because you want your message to get through and you want it to be received well and all of those things. The other part is understanding the mentality of the superior. And I'm sure you've run into this where you challenge something and the person in charge is not willing to accept that challenge. So dealing with that, I'm sure you've dealt with that in the military. Maybe you dealt with that as a conductor. Maybe you've dealt with that in other areas of your life. But those things are meaningful. One, to be able to challenge, and two, to be able to understand the personality that you're challenging, so that you have some good resolution. Have you had to deal with that in your career?
Yeah, a lot. It's and it's all like know your leader is what I can say. People say know your subordinates, which I totally agree with 1000%, but you have to know your leader as well. And like you said, I've had people with a lot of experience, that deserve to be in their leadership roles and stuff like that. But things change with time. And I think the best approach going into that situation is to be humble as a person yourself first, and be willing to listen to what they're saying first, because then that opens up the window for them to listen to what you're saying. And then come with facts, come with evidence, come with reasons and a solution, right? There's one thing that like bothers me a lot when it comes to certain things is if you're going to challenge something, you should already have the solution. And I think when you don't have that solution, and it's okay to not to have the solution, but admit that you don't, right? But when you come in to any situation where you have the solution or a proposed solution, that it's more easy to listen to. I've noticed that not just by challenging my leaders over time, but I've noticed personally looking in that when my team members, supervisors, ops managers come to me with a problem, they have a solution, it's a lot more easy to digest because they've already thought through the whole thing. But one thing that I will do, and it's not, and you can ask anybody that works for me, is even when you have the right answer, I will always challenge you. Not out of your idea's bad, but I want to make sure you thought of the opposite side of your problem you're presenting or your solution presenting. Because if you haven't, and then I bring those things to your forefront, what if it changes your decision? Because I like to look at things from all aspects. I never believed that I'm 100% right. I love when people prove me wrong. I celebrate when people prove me wrong because it shows that you're creating the environment where people are willing to challenge you and bring you new ideas. Because I promise you, Frank, I am not the smartest man in the room. I promise you. And I know that. But that's the part of being humble when you create that environment that they're willing to challenge you that brings greatness.
It's such a hard thing because there can be a lot of ego tied up in being a leader. And not only that, but feeling like as a leader, there's an expectation that you get everything right. Like everybody is relying on you to get everything right. So when you talk about being humble and accepting criticism and feedback, and even the willingness to accept that you may have been wrong, where do you think that comes from? Is that a personality trait? Is that something you learned with your experience in the military or elsewhere?
I think it's all of those. One of the things I used to do is command supply discipline program, was running a program where I went and inspected other units, my subordinates. One of the things that I found so interesting about when someone else comes to inspect you for these things, and yes, I get it's an ego thing that I want to be right and everything perfect at all the time, but there was always a scramble, and I seen this through my whole career going through when one of those things comes. There was a scramble of, do we have everything right? Blah, 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 blah. Do we have this? Do we have that? Do we have this? Do we have that? So if someone that knows what the rules are coming to inspect you are, why is there this mass scramble to do something different than what you do on a daily basis? And I just never understood that because I would want you to point out what I'm doing wrong so I can improve instead of covering it up and making it seem like I know what I do. Because what makes me better as a person, as a leader, than to learn something new that I wasn't doing right, or to show them that I was doing something that I wasn't really doing. And my peers would always ask me why I was so relaxed about stuff like that. Was because, and I say this in a way that I don't want to be arrogant, is that I didn't care that people were coming to inspect me. I wanted them to see my daily operation because Frank has different experience than David does. Frank has different life experience than David does. Frank's life experience can add to David's bucket on what he can use later in life to be a good leader, good father, good son, good friend, all those things. And once you realize that, I think it's a little bit easier to accept criticism, because by far every single day, I promise you, I think about something that I did wrong in my brain and say, how could I do that better? And I think a lot of people do, but they don't take that into their worth ethic in life and, how they lead people. And it's, I'm always right. Because there is, like you said originally, there is that ego. And of course, you have to have a little bit of ego and confidence in some things, but there's a little bit of humbleness you need to add to that and being willing to kind of let it go back and forth.
It's a really interesting way to approach it, having someone look at your activity. And rather than having the mentality of they're here to point out my failure, the way that you approach it is I have an opportunity to improve.
Correct.
It is also important from the leadership perspective, because a leader can help manipulate that mentality. If a leader is coming with a thumb on you all the time, it would be a natural reaction to say, I have to cover up all of these mistakes that he or she may think I'm making, rather than a leader who says, these are things that you're doing really well. Here are some other things that you can do. We can help you improve, or how can I help you improve? So the leader mentality is just as important as the person who is receiving the feedback.
Yeah, correct. And I think I always used to believe for a long time, like how you explained it, I call the compliment sandwich, right?
Yeah.
Where, hey, Frank, you're doing this and this and this good. And then, hey, by the way, you're not doing this and this good. So you have to be careful with that, because one thing that I've learned is you have to celebrate wins. You have to celebrate losses too, right? And people tend to only listen to one side if you give them the compliment sandwich, right? They may only listen to Frank was doing this good, Frank was doing that good, Frank was doing that good. But then when you get feedback, sometimes they just only hear Frank did good, which I've learned over time. And it's a unique experience in the military because I got to work with people from all over the United States, all their different backgrounds, people from different countries. And so you have to learn who's going to take what at that time. But mostly what I like to do is have a separate conversation of what the areas of approves are. And then also, hey, this is what you're doing well. That way those two messages don't get mixed up because you hate for that to happen. And then they think they're doing good. Next thing you know, the person's on a PIP or something like that.
Right.
And
because they disregarded the other portion of a message.
Correct.
So you would manage those things in separate instances?
Depends, right? If the person wasn't getting both sides, then of course I would all transition to that. And I think because some people can understand and take feedback great as well as praise at the same time. And so it just depends on the person. It's, I have 5 kids and they're all different. And so I have to talk to each one different than the other.
That's a lesson that you learn in parenting.
Correct. And it's just a lesson you learn in leadership.
Sure. Absolutely. There's no question.
Because one of the things my operations manager tells me is I don't like compliments. And it's not that I don't like them or appreciate them. It's just like, I just think I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. Right. So giving me a compliment doesn't maybe get the reaction other people would give. Because I really and truly am humble and I just feel like I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do.
I've been known to say that doesn't motivate me. And it sounds like a joke, but there's a little truth in it. Yeah. Because messaging doesn't apply to everybody equally.
Correct.
And so what motivates me can be and probably is a little different than what motivates you or Caleb or anyone else. And it's all based on all of these different, we don't have the same life experiences. We're all unique individuals. And so when we're talking about leadership, it's really important to understand. Just like you said, know your leader. All leaders aren't the same.
Yep.
All employees aren't the same. All individuals aren't the same. So understanding how to tap into all of the potential is really interesting and can be really challenging.
Yeah. And I would say it's so interesting to me because I work on getting to know people that lead me. Sometimes those leaders that other people are scared of or back office are different to me than they are to other people because I get to know them. And it's so interesting. I have a lot of friends that people thought they were difficult leaders, but they just never got to know them and come to find out that's why is they just have a different leadership style. And once you understand that, it's easy to kind of work with them.
Well, tell me about that. I'm at eHub. I work on the partnership side and what we call strategic relationships, and so I'm always, fascinated about building relationships and how those relationships works and how they're meaningful in a business setting. So what is your experience in terms of building relationships with the people you work with?
Every Monday, sometime within the first 20 minutes that I get to work, I go say hi to every single person on my team. I ask them how their weekend was and all this other stuff. And I've been doing that since I've been at Dime it'll be 3 years. And one of the craziest compliments from doing that I got is we had a team member, her name was Paris. She went to go, I think it was in Puerto Rico, she got some job position and that's why she left. And she only been there in a couple of months while I was there. So I'd only been there a couple of months before she left. She wrote this card to me and said, thank you for getting to know us. And what that does is when I go out there to say hi to the team, it's not just hi. It's, hey, how is this? How's school? How's this? How's that? I take these little bit of nuggets of information that people give to me, and I understand what they care about. And then I go talk to them about that. Like you were talking to me about running, right? That's something that I care about. So I listen very well and take signals of what's important to the person that I'm talking to. And another thing is super interesting to me is when you go to a conversation now and you're trying to say something important, and so somebody doesn't put their phone down and is listening to you.
How does that
come off?
How does that affect you? Absolutely.
Correct. And so I always, when I'm doing that is I make sure that I'm listening to the person, active listening.
Yeah.
Not just hearing to respond. I'm active listening.
Yeah. I can think of a dozen occurrences in the last 3 days when I had my phone and I was trying to be engaged with someone, and now I feel terrible about myself.
But it's hard, right? Because we have this busy lifestyle now.
know. It's hard, but it's not a great excuse.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also find myself in the other chair where something is important to me and I want it to be important to the person with whom I'm speaking, but that person has a phone or is engaged in something else. This is where the relationship part comes in. If I don't have a great relationship with the individual, I dismiss it and I walk out and there's a wall. If I have built a relationship with the individual and I'm experiencing this, I do say, you're going to have to pay attention. You're going to have to put your phone down and engage in this. It's important. And I wonder if we can just start kind of actively doing that.
I love that. And I'm going to share this story. I have a lot of going on in my life with my kids. I have an 16-year-old, a few other personal things going on in life. My dad passed away January of last year. So it's been a lot recently. And so I have built this relationship with my operations manager, and she might be mad that I share this story. I'm sure she won't. But I built the relationship enough as like during our sync, she said, "This is my time with you." And she was honest and gave me the feedback. "You've been distracted. This lately, this and this and that. And you know what? I appreciate it. I really do." Because then it allowed me to go look back at myself and say, yes, she's right. Instead of getting, like most people get defensive and angry and say, but I had this and this and this going on. Mm-hmm. But she's perfectly right. This is her time. This is the time for me to have that one-on-one bonding relationship, give her feedback, give her this, give her that, answer her questions. And so I really do appreciate things like that. So that's proof that I built that relationship, that she's willing to be vulnerable in that and say that. Mm-hmm. And she had no fear of me, 1, being angry, 2, being deflective, or 3, being dismissive of her feedback. And so it just goes all into the details with your team and building that leadership relationship. And it's always two-way communication. And it's one thing that I love to do too is I don't ever just take credit for things that my team does. And if you've seen a few things that I post about like the things that my team does, it's always we, not me. Mm-hmm. And I try to consciously do that because they're the ones that put in the hard work. Do I help set up the environment for that? Yes. But they're the ones that put in all that detail. And I think it's all encompassing of all that to be able to do that.
If I said to you, people are the most important asset in an organization, how would you respond to that?
1,000%. I think relationships allow you to execute things that you normally couldn't in tough times. Like this last peak, I think we did TikTok shop, 20 months of clone number 1 selling. Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't just go, your guys' job to pack that out. No, me and my operations manager was there until midnight packing that out. The team focused on what other stuff that they had, other orders that they had. And there's been times where we had to have a night shift because of our seasonality volume, and all the leadership team got to go home. I took another shift and was there during the day and worked night. And I think it's that care of not just, hey, this isn't a you problem. It's your guys' problem to fix. It's a we problem. And then that's exemplified in actions, not just words.
So when you have a team member like your ops manager and you've done the work to build a relationship, and that's been meaningful for both sides, and then you have a situation where that individual can say, are you with me? Like, you've been distracted. How can we work through this? That's when it's operating at the best, highest level. But you don't always have a team member who operates at that level. And there are some that maybe you just can't ever find that connection to get on the same page, no matter what the effort is on either side. So in those circumstances, how do you manage that? If someone is not willing to get on board?
I think like what you have to do is not just look at the individual, is look at how it's impacting your team, right? Because if you are right, there are those cases where there's somebody that, hey, no matter what, you've tried, and maybe it's the culture or whatever you have is not the best fit for them. And as long as you put in all the effort into trying to correct that, then, maybe it's time to go separate ways, right? And maybe the culture is not for them and they find something different. Not every leader is for every person, as much as you try. And it's so crazy. But I've also come to experience where other people have told me that about people. And I've been given those people that were leadership challenges, is what we used to call them in the Army. And the crazy part is 95% of the time after I worked with them, people wanted to take them from me because they were now an asset to the team. And it's because the people, majority of the time, and you're right, there are those one-offs, but majority of the time it's because no one put the effort to listen to what was going on with them. And it may be personal, right? I had a soldier in Hawaii when I was stationed in Hawaii. He was given to me, and I love this dude to death. And he's such a great story. But he was from Nigeria. He'd been married 3 years. He worked in another shop, and they gave him to me. I got to know him, find out things. One of the things that I found super interesting is he just talked super fast. And people are like, didn't listen to him or took him as being angry, which definitely wasn't the case. He just talked fast. And like in the military, everything is about respect, right? Respect their rank, regardless of how you feel about the person. And so I could see how certain people would take that a certain way and like, point the finger like, oh, he's being disrespectful. No, that's just where he came from and how he talked. That's just who he was. So be a little agile with that, and don't be a little bit rugged about how you judge somebody. But then the crazy part was for me, like, remember I said he was married 3 years. His wife was trying to get her visa for 3 years. He'd been married 3 years and hadn't seen his wife for 3 years. I don't know about anybody else. I would be mad if I hadn't seen my wife for 3 years. I mean, I've been on deployments and hadn't seen my wife for 16 months while deployed, and that was horrible. Of course, I'm going to be a little bit angry. And then come to find out, I escalated this up the chain and come to find out like someone in the leadership roles worked at an embassy, had some connections. All of a sudden, his wife got pushed through the process a little bit faster, and his wife was now with us in Hawaii. I trained him, and then everybody else wanted him from me. which is great. I love that success. One thing about me is I celebrate my team's success more than mine. He ended up becoming a warrant officer in the United States Army. And a warrant officer for our field is, like in charge of inventory control. You have to apply, be a technical expert. So going from a leadership challenge to a technical expert because somebody listened is super, super interesting to me. Is, majority of the time it's maybe no one listened to them.
Yeah. And maybe people write other people off too quickly. I mean, that can be,
for sure.
That can be a downfall as well.
For sure. I've been written off too quickly before,
Yeah. So back to, that is another really interesting thing. Back to that experience, you've had to go through that. And so, like you said, pack it away. When you have the opportunity to lead, then you have that experience of working with someone who has value. It just hasn't been explored in the right way.
Correct.
We could continue to talk about all of this experience and this kind of thoughtful leadership that you seem to apply to your life, but I do want to get to Dime.
Yeah, for sure.
And your current role at Dime. So maybe we can finish up there. Dime Beauty, local company, started here in Utah and has done fantastically well. You joined 3 years ago. And so I'm really curious now that, I had a different set of questions I was thinking about, but based on all of this experience that you've had in your life, military and other career opportunities, I'm really curious how you apply all of those lessons and experiences to what you're doing at Dime and how that's been meaningful. So I want to get to those questions, but maybe just give us a high level overview of what Dime is up to, what you're working on, what does the future look like?
Yeah. Right now, Dime's, I think the thing we're working on right now is a lot of Ulta. We sell in Ulta. 2 years ago, we were in a few stores. Now we're in hundreds of stores. So focused a lot on B2B.
Still have the direct-to-consumer portion? Yep.
Still have direct-to-consumer. That is, Dime's bread and butter, where they originated. And then also TikTok Shop. There was like a thing a few months ago about TikTok Shop where you had to ship to them, which they kind of went back on, which is super crazy.
Yeah, it threw the entire market into turmoil for however many days or hours or whatever it was. But it was
correct.
Crazy.
And that's where that cologne #1 kind of blew up on, was TikTok Shop. We do really, really well in Dime's fragrances. We do have a new fragrance. Want to plug that to stay a while. That launched a month ago. It's doing very well. Super clean ingredients, and it's doing very well on TikTok Shop and Ulta.
Okay, so are the fragrances, colognes, are these kind of for everybody, or how does it work in the Dime world?
So there's the female fragrance and there's one male cologne. Okay, and they are made with natural ingredients, super great for your skin.
Yep.
And then we also have the skincare that we do. That is, for everybody. It's, very all natural product, and it's a great product that we have. And
that's kind of the basis of Dime is all clean, all natural skincare.
Our esthetician, our founder, Bailey and Ryan, Bailey's an esthetician.
Yes.
And that's, kind of their bread and butter is the all natural. And that's why we use glass for all of our stuff too.
Yep.
Is we don't want any BPA leaking into our product and stuff like that, because, then you're putting it on your skin and then it absorbs into your body.
So as we wrap this up, I think all of the really interesting stuff about leadership and your experience, how you apply that to your everyday job with Dime will be interesting for listeners. So tell us about that. Are those lessons and all of that experience that you've you've taken from your other adventures? Can you apply that to the civilian world as running a warehouse in a logistics space?
For sure. It kind of goes with relationships, right? All the carriers that we use. I think that's part of the most important part is, not just relationships with your team, is relationships with external support, which is kind of when I first started with Dime is like, we had a carrier and then we've changed over time, relationships. If I don't tell you what I want from you, how do you know what to provide? And then next thing you know, I'm upset because you're not giving me what I need when I never told you what I needed. So that kind of goes to where we were talking about willingness to be humble and, take that risk of telling somebody what they actually need to hear instead of, just internalizing it and saying, well, they're not doing X. So that, but I think that's an important aspect of it is communication amongst our vendors to let them know what we are wanting. And some of those conversations aren't, easy. I've had a carrier where I literally had to say, we asked them for X, Y, and Z. And then the very next meeting, like there was no action. And, I was super nice about it. I was like, guys, if this is this way the relationship's going to go, that we may not be great partners or a great fit. When we ask for X, Y, and Z, if there's no follow-up, then the assumption it's not getting done. And immediately after that, they're like, oh, there was a status of each project or whatever we were working on before every meeting that we talked about, all these other things. And, it created a great relationship and they understood that when I was giving them feedback, it was because, hey, I wanted this to be a great partnership. Because I think that's important. One thing, like with any shipping, is, of course, rates. Rates is always the first thing people like, what's your rates? But it's also the willingness. This is a we scenario, not a me or you scenario. It's a us. Because if there's not that partnership, then you're not going to be communicative to me when something goes wrong, and I'm not going to be communicative to you when something goes wrong. And then it creates this battle where we're like not against each other, but like pulling in opposite directions, right? It's like tug of war. Now, if you have a tug, like you're pulling a rock uphill and you're all pulling the same direction, it's going to go super easy. Now, if you're both pulling opposite directions,
you won't get anywhere.
Exactly. And so I think, being like those leadership experiences and principles has allowed me to be willing and say the things that needed to be said, take feedback for what my team could do better. And we made those changes along the way to create better partnerships with everybody we've ever worked with.
Yeah.
And if they're not working out and it's unfortunate, then we may not be good partners, which is fine because we all have different ambitions as a company and certain different goals. But it's better to find that out than to continue on this miserable partnership that doesn't work, where we're not meeting our goals, you're not meeting your goals, and it just makes it rough.
Yeah.
And it's not a fun day-to-day operation to go to.
Yeah. I like what you were saying about communication, especially with your vendors. And we have someone around here who's fond of saying feedback is a gift. And if you can approach it that way, then it is. And so that resonates. You talk about rates. I think that's interesting because we want to help our clients obviously manage costs appropriately, but we also want to make sure our customers are getting the proper support and meeting the transit time obligations and limiting claims and all of the things that happen when you're sending packages around. And sometimes you have to weigh the cost between paying 20 cents less on a package versus ensuring that the package is going to get there clean and on time. and not having to deal with all of the customer support issues that go along with that. So how do you manage that, and how are you thoughtful about that?
Yes. That's the first thing that I talk about when talking to any carrier that wants to quote me rates, wants to quote me this. I was like, it's not always about the rates. It's about those things that you stated, getting there on time, all these other things, because a customer, they are super, super finicky about a lot of things. And to kind of let you know where Dime stands right now is with far as that meeting customer expectations. According to our statistics of what we tell our customers when they're placing the order, they should receive the order, it's about 97 to 98% of that time we meet or exceed that estimated delivery time. That's super important. I think industry standards probably 92 to 94-ish. So we're doing super great in that. But I think it's important to understand all of those dynamics, because I had a carrier that we did do that when I first started, where we went all like rate's the most important thing. But sometimes what we don't understand is the customer service side of it, right? One, does that increase the headcount we need in customer service? Because where's my package is the number one question I promise you every customer service gets, right? Where is my package?
Yes.
And since, we put in zip limits, saying if, hey, this carrier doesn't meet, can't remember the exact days at the time, we don't have those zip limits anymore because just statistically we beat them anyways.
Yeah.
It's pointless to put in that work. But if this carrier meets delivery to zone X or this address 5 days or less, 90-something% of the time or more, then they win. If not, then we'll move on to the next carrier regardless of the cost. So there's ways of putting in zip limits with your carriers, and maybe they don't have that functionality, but it doesn't hurt to ask, right? But I think it's important to ask before you onboard them is if they have that availability. And this one other thing is like customers are super finicky about, which I find interesting, is sometimes they think that bigger like FedEx, UPS, the post office will get their packages faster when that's definitely not the case. And sometimes small business believe that too, because you do have like these, smaller carriers throughout the network that can meet your delivery times because they do interesting things like zone skipping, all these other things. And Dime does use those smaller carriers, and they deliver it faster than USPS. But sometimes customers just want to see the name as FedEx, USPS, or
it's so true.
UPS, and they're getting their packages faster.
Yeah.
So you just have to manage those expectations. Like, hey, guys, we wanted to get your package here faster.
Yeah.
So that's why we chose to use X carrier, because they specialize in this.
Yeah.
And so how I manage it is I literally look into the data and transit times all the time, once a week, and pull all that data together and kind of see what's going on and what trends are, and if there's anything that we need to do differently, we do, and pivot and go on and so forth.
Well, it is frustrating as a consumer when I just had this experience, ordered something, it says right there on the screen, in stock, ready to ship. And then I'm getting notifications like it's still in the warehouse. It labeled generate. This is like 4 days later, 5 days later. Total first world problems. But it is a little bit, it can be frustrating. And you don't want to create that experience for your customer. Yeah.
And I think one of the things that happens in the fulfillment side, and it depends on your pick, pack, and ship process too, is when I know certain softwares, like you generate the label to pick the pick list, right? And that generates the pick list, and it generates the shipping label at the same time. But that's where those instances that you were talking about is label's been generated for 2 days is it hasn't even been picked yet.
Yes.
And so I think us in this world need to be mindful of that, in which, That's one of the things I changed, is made sure that the label's not generated till the pack out process is complete for us. So that way, Frank, when he orders from Dime, his package is actually packed at that moment and ships the same day.
Yeah.
Because that is not a great experience. And that's happened to me quite a bit. And so I'm very mindful of that. And how I look at things is not necessarily, always how efficient fulfillment can be, how efficient X could be. It's like, how is this experience for the end user?
Absolutely. Yeah.
The customers who's going to keep coming back.
You want a great experience, customer comes back. An average experience, customer is looking elsewhere. Okay, before I let you go, as you look over your 3 years now at Dime and based on all of your past experience, what do you think is the most meaningful thing you've done within the warehouse to create efficiency or an experience for your team that's meaningful? Or what is it that you think sets your department apart?
Team culture, without hesitation. One thing, and I'll be doing it here shortly, is I'll meet with the team members too, individually every quarter, a couple skip levels down. And we do a lot of fun things at Dime. We had a Lagoon Day yesterday. We went to Lagoon. Sometimes it's great to get out of the office and do things different, build team culture, bonding, stuff like that. We've done Top Golf a couple times. Those little things mean a lot. We have a competition every quarter for the highest picker packer. There's a prize that they win if they do that. Those type of things. And like I said, every Monday, and more than just every Monday, go out there and see how everybody's doing, listening to what they say, talking to them what their interests are, and you just find out how they're doing every single day. I think that's the most important part, because people drive the numbers don't drive people. And those guys are probably one of the most efficient teams that I've ever worked with, that they do a lot of great things. And why not celebrate them and have a great team culture? So I think it's team culture is the number one thing that I've done since I've been at Dime, along with, it's not what I've done, it's what we've done as a team. And Bailey's been there with me the whole time too. So don't let that be out of mind there. Now,
this is not the same Bailey we were talking about previously.
No, this is
Bailey, the founder, and Bailey, your operations manager.
Yep. Two different people. But she's been there with me this whole time, and I think it's an us. But also, I don't think it's just a team culture amongst our group, right? I have the most amazing relationship with our customer service, right? Amazing relationship with our supply chain. We all talk back and forth. Like the customer service team manager sits right next to me, and she said, I didn't know much about fulfillment till we started sitting next together, right? And so she knows what I need, and I know what she needs, because we have that working relationship, right? And so when something's not right, and before I notice, she may notice with fulfillment, or vice versa with customer service. And so there's always this caring part of us that cares about the downstream and upstream effect that helps with everything. I believe with Dime is we care a lot amongst each other and amongst cross-level groups, because we have those relationships. So it's not just individual on my team, it's cross-functional. And, that goes to our HR manager, Jenica, which is amazing too.
Yeah. Well, it feels like you've taken all of in the military, maybe it's forced because it has to be, but you have to be a team. You have to be a unit. You have to work together as one. And that's part of the reason why people who fall out get extra discipline, because we all have to be together.
Correct.
and moving up the hill together, all pulling in the same direction. And it feels like you've taken all of those lessons, especially I love the team culture answer, and taken that team mentality and built it into a civilian circumstance in Dime. And Dime's doing really well because it's a great product, there's great founders, but mostly because it feels like there's really great people. You not the least of them. I mean, what you're doing there drives the success at Dime.
I hope so, because it's all I know is, is team culture is super important to me, and that's all I know. And I try to take that everywhere I go. And so I hope that I'm one of the main reasons for success. Not the reason, of course, but I just hope that type of culture that they have is part of what drives our successful as a team.
Wow. You've been fantastic. Leadership Lessons with David Luna. We really appreciate your time. Hope you'll come back and see us again sometime and let us know what's going on.
I will definitely come back if you want me to. That's totally up to you.
Open invite, no doubt.
Yep, not a problem.
All right. Thanks, David.
Thanks, Frank.
Thank you for listening to the Know Your Ship podcast presented by eHub. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review.